Hi, I'm here to show you my interactive notebook for my resource math class here today. On the front, I give all my kids a label to where they can be able to contact me in different forms or fashions, so that way when they have their notebook at home, if they have questions about their work or whatnot, they can contact me. Mine is not completely filled out in the beginning because I was using my other interactive notebook to show as an example, and that's when I decided that this class was a little different, so I needed to have my own interactive notebook. So they have the same grading rubric and table of contents, and the table of contents continue on. They have their reference chart for our STAR math test. They have both sides available. My 8th graders have the 8th grade version. On this page, they have their math goals, and we revise that over time, and I'm going to have that sheet available in my TPT store soon. They have a copy of their multiplication chart, and then we start Unit 1. Unit 1 was over numerical understanding. We did technical reading with word problems and a word problem practice, and I've just released some different posters. Currently, I have a superhero theme and an owl theme out, and I've got more themes coming. You get a full-size poster, a half-size poster, and then a quarter-size poster, which the quarter-size are great to be able to put in math centers and whatnot. Okay, the next is vocabulary, and this goes just like my other one from my other class, and we just do the vocabulary word inside. These Frayer models are available in my TPT store. Here is my ever so famous converting fractions, decimals, and percents flippable. My students got the flippable on one color, and then all of the notes on white, and we labeled all 6 of them, and then we closed them all. And then we read the descriptions and added them to where they go, then closed them all. And then we looked for the examples and added them in, and then we were done. And then once my students had finished this, they used it to be able to work on the conversion chart that's also available in my store. Next was comparing and ordering rational numbers, and we talked about how to go through the steps of comparing them and ordering them from least to greatest. And we did some practice problems. And then they did the benchmark rational numbers show-off thing, where they were given a set of rational numbers, and they had to order them on the number line and then explain what they did. Okay. They had some more conversion practice here as well. This is our Unit 2. I don't have my 2 there. But you can see we did more information with our vocabulary. I decided to only give this group 4 vocabulary words per unit, so we started just putting them out like this, and they really like this because then they could flip to it and look for their examples. The next thing we did was a review over order of operations. This is a 7th and 8th grade resource class, and they have the word bank available to them. And after I did this part with them up here and helped them with the sentence, I said, okay, what are the types of numbers that we use in numerical expressions? And they found the 3 of those. And I said, okay, what are the types of operations? And they found those. And then we talked about, okay, we filled in our hopscotch together, and then we went through and completed our sentences over here. And then we did some practice with order of operations task cards. So they really like this. This is just a resource for them. It's not meant to go way above and beyond, which some interactive notebooks do, but I really want it to be a resource for my students. Then the next day we did order of operation words flippable. They cut out their flippable. I used a template for them instead. I had made this one at home. The template is available in my store as this flippable, but it's also available in my flippable template pack. And the kids cut out all the words, and we went through together, and I was like, okay, what words mean for us to add? And so we added all those words in. We closed it. Then it was out of our words that are left, which ones mean to subtract, and we added those in. And we did that for all 4 operations, and then we did some practice on finding keywords within a word problem and solving them. This is our place value numbers flippable. Back here are the numbers that go in each of the pockets, and we do a game called Show Me every once in a while, where I'm like, okay, show me 324 and 900s, and they have to show it to me, and then as you know, whoever's first to get it, or all of them that get it, they get a sticker that they're able to use for rewards in the classroom. The next thing is our estimation notes. This is basic estimation, and then some practice together And we did these three together, and then they had to do this one as their ticket out the door that day. And then they had a homework assignment with estimation. So it really worked. We talked about being able to demonstrate what decimals look like. So I gave them a hundreds chart, and these are available for free in my shop. And then we talked about adding and subtracting decimals. We went through the steps together, and they did the practice together. You can see they got to choose whether they wanted me to do the odds or the evens. So I did the odds on this one, and so then they did the evens, and then they answered the question as their ticket out the door. This is not what theirs looks like. This ended up turning into our decimal shopping spree. I have misplaced mine, so I haven't been able to add it in here, but I'm probably going to end up recreating it and adding it in here for reference. We went on to multiplying decimals and being able to show with pictures how to multiply them, and they did this one by themselves. And then I modeled how to multiply our decimals and whole numbers, and then they did those two themselves. We moved into dividing decimals, and again, we did this one together, and then this one was an interesting one because we had to cut apart a third one and then break it off into different sections. We went into Unit 3 for data and graphs. This was my favorite unit I've done with them so far. Again, my vocabulary is not up to date. I do it on a big sheet for them so they can see it more clearly, and then I just don't always remember to transfer it in here. And because this is data, I had my 7th and 8th graders separately. So each of them had a part in here. So I have two different ones where they have the I can statement at the top. I would show them this every day, and they would get it ready for class. So how many letters are in our first name, and we made a chart and kept track of that. Then the question was, what is the class average of letters in our first name? So we added all the data and divided by the total number of entries. My other class is under here. And we charted our information in a frequency table. I'm trying to make sure the other page doesn't have any names on it. It doesn't. Okay. So then we went on to identifying mean and mode, or median and mode. And so what is the most number of letters in our first name? This is the next day, but we used the same information from the previous day. The same thing for the median. Then we talked about how we find the median, and we wrote that information down. So our next one was, what is your favorite pizza topping? So my kids went around and they did their data information, and we created a bar graph and found the mean, median, and mode for that information for both of my classes. I like being able to put both of my classes in here and just flipping it up, because then I only have to keep track of one interactive notebook. And then our next one was our mean, median, and mode and range flippable to do as just a wrap up of those 2 days worth of work. And the kids were able to, so their homework from that before was to keep track of how many hours they slept. And so we did that together. And now they had reference to be able to do this. And then they created examples of ways to use this, and actually the paper that has this information on this had it in a chart ready for them to just glue in and answer in. So they talked about different ways to use it in real life. Then the next day we did what is your favorite holiday, and they got to walk around the classroom and ask each other what their favorite holidays were. And this was your choice. They got to create their own graph. I remember that. Mine was, what is your favorite holiday? So I demonstrated it for them first, and then they walked around and did their own. The next time we did bar graphs, and I gave them a chart, our I can statement, and then we created the bar graph, and then they had to make 3 generalizations. We did these 3 together, and then they had to make 3 separate generalizations about the graph. We also talked about least and greatest. And we talked about making sure that our labels were on each side. Because then, as we kept going further, I started taking parts of the graph away so they would have to do it. Then we talked about double bar graphs. They went around to different teachers in the first 5 minutes of class and asked them how many hours of TV they watched the night before. So then we made we made a chart, and we used that chart to make our graph. And then they had to talk about how the responses compare. And they wrote that there, and then they ended up writing it on a Post-it for a Post-it Prove It so that we could hang it up in the classroom. This was the day that we played trash get ball. Sorry, I'm trying to cover my kids' names. And what the kids did is they had 5 shots in each trial, so for a total of 15 shots. And we kept track of how many they made each time. Then we kept the mean, median, mode, and range of the data. It's by the class underneath there. And then you can see that I put a color around each student, and that was what they were in the graph down below. And the next day we did circle graphs, and we talked about, they got to choose whether we were going to do favorite sport. Both of my classes chose sport, and again we did the color around the edge so our graph would look the same, and they just colored in the spots down here so they would be able to show which was which. And then they had to make a conclusion, so put them in order from least to most popular, and then make 2 generalizations about their data and complete sentences. That really got them to working on making generalizations about data and get thinking beyond. And then we did a types of graphs flippable. So they had each of these, and they had to cut out definition, and then at the top they had to write a way that they would use it. And so that was kind of like my assessment for them to go along with all the activities that we'd already done. And our next unit was on probability, and since I've been on medical leave, I haven't been able to have it all up to date, but I hope to soon. It's almost available in my store. And so I hope that you have enjoyed my interactive notebook, and I would love to hear your comments and considerations for future activities. So hope you're having a great day, and don't forget to check out the blog. I'll link you down to the information below. Thanks.